So, coming from CNBC, Amazon has deployed enough satellites to launch LEO service later this year. So, I kind of think this is an interesting story because SpaceX, they IPO'd about 3 weeks ago. And the one area where SpaceX is actually profitable is in their StarLink service. So, they have about 10 million users. So, they provide internet based or satellite based internet access to those 10 million users. And apparently, that is a relatively profitable business venture for them, and it's something that there's not really very much competition in that space. What is kind of interesting with this, though, is as I've talked about many times before, is that first mover advantage is not necessarily as valuable as people think it is. Right? There's this concept of whoever can get into a market first and then monopolize the entire market, they're the ones that are going to win. One of the problems you run into, though, if you're a first mover, is that it costs you a lot of money to figure out essentially what not to do. The other thing that you have to do is that you have to convince customers to buy your particular product. And when you're selling a brand new product, that can be relatively expensive. So if you're a second mover or a third mover, you get to see what the first person did. And not waste money on wherever they failed. And by the time that you get to the market, people already know why this technology is valuable. So it becomes a lot easier and a lot cheaper to sell. And so Amazon basically has been trying to create this constellation of internet satellites for a while. I do believe it was 2019. The Kuiper constellation was the original name of it. They renamed it Leo relatively recently. So they've been pushing ahead with this particular project for satellite-based internet service. And also, I do believe Rocket Labs just bought Iridium. So the Iridium satellite system. So Rocket Labs is going to be trying to get into the ISP service too. So what will be interesting is within a relatively short period of time, Starlink actually might have a lot more competition. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see how well they are able to hold up under that competition. Now, with Leo, it is basically they have enough satellites to basically launch the service. So they have the bare minimum number of satellites for the service to actually function. So this is not directly going to be competing with Starlink soon, but it will compete soonish, I suppose. Amazon said it now has enough satellites in orbit to begin initial service of its LEO Internet from Space network later this year. The company shipped 29 satellites into orbit around 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday atop a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket. The mission brings Amazon's total constellation to more than 390 satellites, which is enough to support continuous service across initial latitudes. Chris Weber, Vice President of Business and Product for Amazon Leo, wrote on X. In a key milestone for Amazon, it's a key milestone for Amazon as the company tries to make Leo a competitor to SpaceX's Starlink in the low Earth orbit satellite market. In November, Amazon began offering an enterprise preview of Leo for select businesses, but has yet to launch its service for consumers and government customers. Amazon's initial commercial service will likely be limited to users in certain geographies. Future missions will add coverage and capacity. Amazon aims to build a constellation of roughly 7,700 satellites, but the effort has been slowed by a shortage of rocket capacity. In its January request for an extension on regulatory deployment deadlines, the company cited delays beyond its control, including a shortage and near-term availability of rockets. Amazon in 2022 signed a historic deal to reserve rocket launches with ULA, Arianespace, and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin before purchasing rides with SpaceX. Many of those providers have experienced delays with their launch vehicles. Another setback came in May when one of Blue Origin's New Glenn rockets exploded on the launch pad during a hot fire test just days before it was slated to carry a batch of Amazon satellites. Amazon said Thursday its next LEO mission will use ULA's Vulcan heavy lift rocket, which will carry even larger LEO payloads and help increase our deployment rate. With hundreds of flight-ready satellites standing by at the Cape now, and a new dedicated vertical integration facility ready to support LEO Vulcan 1 and subsequent missions. We have a clear path to increase launch and deployment cadence, blase, 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 blase. So basically, they've got 390 satellites in orbit. They want to get up to 7,700, and this is the bare minimum they need to actually start providing services. So we will see how this goes. It'll be kind of curious to think about this, in the wider world of technology, what happens when communication becomes absolutely ubiquitous. So I think about this being in the United States. So when you're in the United States, everybody thinks the United States is like LA and New York and like one cornfield in between. It's weird. You talk with people that aren't from America, and their idea of the United States, they think of it as a much smaller country than it actually is. But the reality is, again, Wyoming. Wyoming exists. I'm telling everybody about Wyoming. Anyways, and the thing is, out there, I mean, running any of the, you know, communication systems that would actually be able to connect a lot of people is a complete and utter pain in the ass. It is very expensive to do. It is very difficult to do. And so what you find is there's a lot of places in the United States that do not have good internet access, even in 2026, simply because of a lot of different hurdles. And that's before you get into the stupidity of the corporate world. So one of the interesting things with this is once satellite internet becomes a competitive space, it does become kind of an interesting question of how does that change the dynamics of many rural areas, right? A lot of people leave rural areas. You can't get entertainment. You don't have good communication. You can't necessarily get very good products. I think about that. I've been in places in the U.S. where I've been talking with folks. It takes them 2 hours to drive to a Walmart. When they need to go to Walmart, that is a day. That is a travel day. If they can start getting better internet access out of those areas, and maybe again with Amazon and that type of thing, actually start to be able to get more products shipped to them, it does beg the question of how much more viable do those rural areas become. I think about that like being here in Asheville, North Carolina. One of the things I think with Asheville, North Carolina is that the internet service has become good enough that a lot of remote workers were able to come here. So my wife and I have been coming to Asheville for about 20 years. And I can say, like, we thought about moving to Asheville back in like 2010 timeframe, but me doing a lot of the technical stuff that I do, the internet service was simply not good enough. Like if you looked at the internet service for the entire town of Asheville, if you go back about 15 years ago, the internet service that was being provided was simply not good enough to do a lot of the work that I needed to do. Well, by 2020, COVID hits. Now have a lot of people who want to do remote work, right? They want to be digital nomads. You come to Asheville, and by 2020, the internet service is really good. Like I have fiber optic to my house, right? I think I can get like two gigs, if I wanted it directly to the house. And it now makes Asheville a viable place for all of these remote workers. And we have piles and piles and piles of remote workers. Well, one of the things to think about is some of these remote workers might want to be even more off the beaten path, like get like way out there again to Wyoming or North Dakota or South Dakota or whatever else. If they've got to upload large files, if they've got to deal with systems that require low latency, that type of deal, the reality is the middle of Wyoming simply might not be viable from a technology standpoint. If satellite-based internet service becomes competitive. So it's not simply that there's one provider of it, but there's numerous providers, right? You've got StarLink, you've got LEO, you've got Rocket Labs with their Iridium system. You have possibly other providers providing services. That then makes those rural areas become more viable. And I wonder how that changes some dynamics. So it's something to think about. It's something to kind of consider how these technological changes, drive societal changes too. Um, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Probably, I wouldn't hold your breath. I think Leo will be amazing. I think it will be amazing. Probably in like 2035. They've been going shockingly slowly. I remember talking about the Kuiper constellation, a long time ago, and they finally are to the point of it being slightly functional. So I think when it goes into widespread deployment, it will still be another couple of years. But it's amazing how fast time goes by. I know for the youngins out there, a day seems like a year. It's amazing. You start getting older, and a decade seems like a year. So Anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about Amazon pushing into the satellite internet business? What do you think it'll mean for society? Again, when there is competitive global internet access, satellite-based internet access. Put your comments down below. If you like these videos, do remember they're on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Link is down below. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. With that, see y'all later.